background, one can see people queuing, literally no observance of social distancing. What can you tell us this morning?
Very good morning to you, Desiree, and good morning to our viewers at home. Well, certainly here in Pinetown, it is extremely busy. As you've said, that scores of people are at this store. Of course, they are the normal shoppers, but it's also the pension payouts. So a lot of the pensioners are also standing in the queues. The queues have been divided where we are for the shoppers, normal shoppers who are going into the store, but also then the pensioners. In fact, Desiree, just a second or two ago before coming live on us, the MEC herself was actually moving around in the queues, ensuring that the customers here observe the social distance, but also more importantly to assist the pensioners that are out here in the numbers. Quite a lot of pensioners, and many of them have been here since the early hours of the morning. So she's been moving around, assisting, and also of course went inside this store to speak to the management. It is one of the stores that they are going to be visiting today, with the other businesses as well, to check on compliance today. Of course, all businesses, well, not all, but most businesses are back today, but of course most of them having to follow those strict regulations, but more importantly to ensure that their staff are protected as well as their customers. And without wasting time, let me now bring in the MEC for Economic Development in KwaZulu-Natal, Mrs. Nomusa, Dube-Ncube. MEC, thank you very much for chatting to us. As I was saying, that you've been having your hands full actually in the queues and trying to ensure that people are keeping to the social distancing, but also assisting the elderly. This morning, MEC, I'm sure you've been getting reports just generally across the province, the reopening of some of these sectors. Just firstly, just from the reports that you've been getting, how was the first couple of hours since the businesses reopened?
Well, the first couple of hours have been quite busy. There's still a lot of uncertainty. There's still a lot of planning that needs to happen. Obviously, people still need to get back to their workplaces so that they can experience firsthand getting their letters of approval. The employers still need to ensure that they exercise their systems to make sure that they are in compliance with the regulations. Obviously, you'd understand that we have the Disaster Management Act as gazetted by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. We also have the Gazette by the Minister of Labour, which is in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and the employers also then need to adhere to that. And all these pieces of legislation are aimed at assisting the employers and employees to can understand what is it that needs to be done as we enter Section 4 of the lockdown period. As you can see behind us, we are still need to observe to the social distance. People also still need to ensure that they have their permits. We also still need to ensure that it's only the workers that are in terms of Table 1 and Table 2 that are allowed to come to work. We are also happy that at least the economy is starting gradually to open. The systems are starting to grind, and we're looking forward really to getting the economy moving. But we also need to ensure that we protect the lives. We need to ensure that we adhere to the occupational health and safety of the workers, of our communities. We need to protect the lives and our families at this time.
MEC, you went into the store, obviously spoke to management. From your observations, as the store adhering compliant in terms of the protection of their staff as well as the members of the public, but also I know your officials are out and about as well, checking on different businesses to ensure that they are complying today, and are you satisfied so far in the reports that you've been getting?
No, we're very satisfied so far with what we saw inside the shops. Obviously, there is uncertainty about what is the definition of each and every one of the regulation as they stand. What we are doing now as the department is that we are simplifying the regulations. We are also teaching our own staff about what is the meaning of the regulations. We have worked throughout the weekend to try and simplify the regulations. What we're going to be doing this evening and tomorrow, we are going to be talking to the industry players, we are going to be talking to the chambers, we are going to be circulating to the various industry players our own version of the simplification of what is in the regulation, so that we can assist one another to understand what does each one of these regulations means, because nobody is trying to be punitive with these regulations, but we need to assist each other to understand what is meant by these regulations. And if we do that, if we work together, I'm sure that we can really get through this, because the idea is to keep everybody safe. The idea as well is to ensure that we do not collapse our economy, is to ensure that we don't lose a single job with our economy already under distress, as we can see.
MEC, I can see the police are here, and you've been accompanied by them, obviously, in terms of law enforcement. We have been receiving some reports in certain areas that there's commotion, there's protests outside certain companies. In terms of what is going to happen to those business owners that don't comply with the regulations?
Well, the regulations are very clear that those businesses that do not comply with the regulations, they can be fined. They can even be arrested. Those businesses can even be shut down. The regulations are very clear. There are, in terms of the Department of Labour regulations, there are inspector generals that are going to be appointed, who will then be in charge of ensuring that they comply. Industry players comply, who will also then ensure that they take forward whatever investigations that need to be done, also the prosecutions that needs to be done in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, because that is an act of the country that all of us need to adhere to. So those are compliance measures in every workplace as well. Each and every employer is supposed to appoint a person who will be a safety person within the workplace, so that safety person is responsible for assisting in terms of liaising between the employers and employee, but also understanding better the regulations, so that there can also be that kind of communication where there are distances in terms of understanding, miscommunication, and all those things are things that we are working on just to simplify and get everybody to understand.
MEC, just lastly before I let you go, I know that even before the lockdown, you already had a number that concerned customers, members of the public rather, and employees could contact through the department to report issues of compliance. Just take us through that, just to remind us of those details and where people can go where they find that businesses are not complying.
Yes, we still have our numbers for businesses who have questions, who have concerns, who want to ask questions. We still have our one-stop shop number, as well as our WhatsApp number. For the complaints, for consumer complaints, we also have our consumer number at KZN Etia, but also in all our social media platforms. People can still send us complaints there. There is also a toll-free number where people can send us complaints. We're still getting a lot of complaints of expired food, of food without labels, because it is illegal for people to buy foods that are not properly labeled. Because when you buy something in the shop, you need to know what is contained in that food, so that you can understand maybe something can be reactive into your body. You need to understand what is contained in each and every packet or every drink that you drink. You need to know what is contained there. So people can always call our call center number and we will make sure that we attend to every concern that people might have. And obviously, people also, there's a lot of anxiety with everybody, as you can see. As you can see, even from the elderly, there's a lot of care that we need to take of our elderly. I get worried when I see these elderly here because, as you know, they are the most vulnerable. They are not supposed to be here for long because they can be exposed. So they need also to be told that they don't need to be sitting here for longer hours. They can have access to any banks, any other facility is available for their cards so that they can get, their monies. So those are all the supports and the help that all of us as government officials need to be extending to our elderly during this time.
Let me see for Economic Development, Nomusa Dube-Ncube. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your time. Thank you very much. The MEC there, of course, this morning, she has been moving around here in the area of Pinetown, checking on the businesses and whether or not they are compliant. And at this grocery store where we are, she indeed saying that she is pleased and satisfied that the store has met all the safety measures that they were required to ensure that they meet prior to them opening. We have been receiving a number of calls since this morning. We understand that in the area of Jacobs, just south of Durban, that there are protests there, workers arriving today, and there's certain issues. So, of course, throughout the day, we're going to be visiting a number of areas and checking on these businesses and whether they are compliant in terms of the numbers of workers that are back and whether or not the workers are indeed safe and they have all the necessary protective gear, but also to ensure that the public is also protected. Desiree.
Ayanda, thank you so much for that update. That was Ayanda Mhlongo.